quitting is a mental thing, not a physical thing. So it's not 90% mental, 10% physical. It's not 50-50. It's 100%.
There has always been this debate in the fitness industry.
Mental strength or physical strength?
They're often treated as two separate things, as if training one doesn't impact the other. But if that was true, why would we see the world's greatest athletes do a little bit of meditation in the middle of a very important game? And why does it feel so good to go on a walk or a run when you're in a bad mood? Treating the mental and physical as two separate things is not only scientifically wrong, I think it can also be harmful for people. I was once told to cure my depression by talking about it with other people. Now, did that work? No. Does it work for some people? Sure. But for me, it didn't work. What worked for me was to train my body physically. It was to go on long runs and train at the gym, lifting weights. That cured my mental problems. So in this video, I want to break down this concept of mental and physical strength, and most of all, I want to bring something else to the equation. Last year, scientists found out what has to be one of the biggest discoveries in the 21st century so far. To give you a little hint, it starts with will and ends with power. Now let's get into it. Chapter 1. Everything's connected. So what do we know? We know that stress impacts physical strength. We know that to be true scientifically because mental stress or exhaustion elevates cortisol, which inhibits muscle repair, reduces energy availability, and even disrupts sleep, all of which are really important for physical strength. If you've ever tried to do coordination exercises with a sleepy or stressed mind, you'll know how much the mental side affects your physical abilities. And exactly that's the reason why elite athletes do some meditation in important moments during games. Especially in sports where precision and coordination is absolutely crucial, the difference between a shooter who is stressed and angry and a shooter who is relaxed and calm goes a very, very long way. And what else do we know? We know that physical activity boosts mental health. As I've mentioned earlier in the video, doing physical activity is actually what cured my social anxiety and my depression. But obviously, I'm not a scientific experiment. We have to look at feel-good hormones. Those are endorphins, dopamine, and serotonin. Those are the hormones that make you feel good, make you feel alive, make you feel motivated. I'm not going to go into detail for each of these hormones, but I'm going to put a table here so you can read about it if you want to. If you're a runner, you know the feeling of a runner's high. Those are exactly what I'm talking about. It's the endorphins you feel after a good run. It makes you feel like you're on a drug, and that is being released through physical activity. So there's no secret about that, okay? If you're feeling anxious, if you're depressed, going for a run, going for a walk, going to the gym will have enormous benefits on your mental health. And so what all of this means is that the physical and mental side are one big system called the nervous system.
Quitting is a mental thing, not a physical thing. Our ability to persist is neural. So when people say it's 90% mental, 10% physical, everything is physical. Everything is neurons. Your thinking is the responsibility of chemicals and electrical signals in your head. So it's not 90% mental, 10% physical. It's not 50-50. It's 100% nervous system.
Now for the next part, we'll head over to the beach.
Most people at Pipeline have their hearts in their throat. And there was Jerry Lopez meditating.
Jerry's this mellow guy on shore and this tiger shark out in the water.
This was me and the waves becoming one.
So my favorite example of someone who literally thrives on this concept is someone called Jerry Lopez, the master of Yin and Yang.
This balance, a pendulum swing between dynamic action and stillness and calm. And that it's that pendulum swing, not living in one space, not living in the other, but the balance of the two. And you can really see Jerry took that and he applied it to the incredibly dynamic sport of surfing.
For Jerry, Yin and Yang wasn't just an abstract concept, it was a way of life. The philosophy originates from an ancient Chinese religion called Taoism, and probably it has a lot more meaning than you realize. The yin is a dark swirl, representing passive, soft, and introspective energy, associated with stillness, calm, and the moon. In our case, the mental side of training. Yang is the white swirl, active, strong, and outward focused, associated with movement, energy, and the sun. In our case, the physical side. As you may have noticed, each swirl has a dot of the opposite color, which gives a clue to the meaning of yin and yang. Everything contains a seed of its opposite. Darth Vader has a seed of goodness, and Luke has the potential to follow his dad to the dark side. Like Luke and his father, yin and yang are not total opposites, they are relative to each other. And so,
Jerry practiced yoga to teach how to calm his mind in the most tense situations, how to stay composed and flow with the waves rather than fight against them. And other top performers followed, like LeBron James, Novak Djokovic, Serena Williams. All of these elite athletes in their field, the best of the world, they all practice some sort of mental focus training like yoga or meditation before, during and after the games to balance out all that physical stress that they experience during those games or training.
Made it!
And now, it's my time to face the waves. This has to be the biggest finding of the 21st century so far.
When people do anything that they, and this is the important part, that they don't want to do.
Right.
It's not about adding more work, it's about adding more work that you don't want to do.
Yes.
This brain area gets bigger.
Yep.
Now here's what's especially interesting about this brain area to me. And by the way, I'm only learning this recently because it's new data, but there's a lot of it. The anterior mid-cingulate cortex is smaller in obese people. It gets bigger when they diet. It's larger in athletes. It's especially large or grows larger in people that see themselves as challenged and overcome some challenge.
Right.
And in people that live a very long time, this area keeps its size. In many ways, scientists are starting to think of the anterior mid-cingulate cortex not just as one of the seats of willpower,
Right.
but perhaps actually the seat of the will to live.
Now we're talking.
And when I learned about the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, I was like almost out of my seat. And I've been in the neuroscience game since I was 20.
Now
We're the
we're
same
talking.
age. And I was so pumped because I've heard of the amygdala, fear, prefrontal cortex, it's planning and action. I could tell you every brain area and I teach neuroanatomy to medical students. But when I started seeing the data on the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, I was like, whoa, this is interesting.
Yep.
How is it possible that some individuals just break through the mental and physical boundaries that they have and just persist and go further? And that's where willpower comes into play. Willpower is not a muscle. Willpower is a resource, a neural resource that is finite but renewable. Think of it like a reservoir of water. Okay, you can use it up. Once it's gone, you have no willpower left. You can't go further. If that's during a run, that's it, you're done. But you can make this reservoir bigger. And the way you do that is by doing things you don't want to do. So going for a workout, if you like that workout, will not have an effect on that reservoir. You have to do things you don't want to do. So I hope you found this information useful. I hope you will use it in your own training. Stay wilding. Peace.